Just as access decisions leverage the classification of the information and assets before making approval decisions, so do control decisions. Organizations have a limited amount of resources to operate and drive change to improve internally, so those resources should be focused on the areas with the highest importance first. By this, I mean a higher classification asset or information is more important to invest control resources in than a lower classification asset or information. Take a previous example we've discussed, for instance. We have two servers. For most things, they are similar. Some differences could be that they have different operating systems and applications loaded on them. From a classification perspective, they are essentially the same, as there isn't a distinguishing characteristic to classify them differently for our purposes, except that the first system contains an application that provides employees with a directory for the organization, and the second system contains an application that human resources uses to maintain records on employee pay rates, their personal identifiable information, and other sensitive data. It is clear that the second system has to be classified as more sensitive than the first system, and should have additional protections in place to protect it from misuse. This is the key concept behind controlled decisions leveraging classification. A sensitive database would most likely have enhanced monitoring of user activity and long-term log retention for historical analysis in the event that a potential breach was detected. If the organization has the resources to make this type of control activity standard across their databases, even better. But that brings us to the next point, that a baseline control set for all assets and information that exist in the organization. Say, for instance, in our example above, that the organization performs user activity monitoring and long-term log retention for all of their databases, regardless of classification. There are still additional controls that can be applied on the higher classification levels, such as configuration management, vulnerability assessments, check-in and out controls for privileged user accounts, and so on.